My sister got married last weekend. I flew into town and my parents insisted that I stay with them instead of a hotel like I wanted. My parents are consistently late for everything. I think it's a Latin thing. I hate being late. I think it's disrespectful. The wedding was at 2:30. My folks live about half an hour from the church. Noon rolls up and my folks aren't even getting ready yet. They are adults and I am over dealing with them. I get ready. I send for an Uber and I am at the church for 2 o'clock. I check in with my sister. She asks me if I had any problems getting my parents to church. I told her that I came by myself. She shook my white and said that I was responsible for getting them there on time. Well, nobody asked me to do that. I didn't even want to stay there. So now everyone starts calling my parents. They are getting ready. They were about 35 minutes late. The service was shortened because there was another wedding later that day. Everyone is still mad at me for not getting my parents there on time. My aunt said that I'm an asshole for messing up the timing of the wedding. My mom says it's my fault for not reminding them to get ready. Am I the only one who thinks adults should be able to be on time for their own kid's wedding without help? I'll admit I'm biased right off the bat. I couldn't stand her. I call her his ex to myself and others. He called her his friend. We're all in our early 40s. She died recently, aneurysm. I've been with him 10 years now, but he'd known her for 20 plus. The way he tells it, they were friends in college, decided to date, got married, then realized they weren't a great couple and decided to just be friends. All that happened years before I met him. He was clear early on that she was important. A couple months into dating, it came up that his friend was actually his ex-wife. He explained the above to me, saying she was one of his closest friends and that it was purely platonic. I expressed some discomfort at him being so close to an ex, and he told me that's fine. If you have a serious issue with it, let me know now and save us some time. I'll choose her. I like you and all, but I've known her for over 12 years and she's one of the most important people in my life. You'll have to be okay with it if you want us to be a thing. When we were engaged I asked again. He gave me this perplexed look and asked why would us getting married affect my friendships? I sucked it up and went along. I resented every moment of knowing her, especially when we had to be social. She understood some part of him I couldn't. Her husband was friends with mine as well, so it's not like I could use him as an angle. He'd have lunch with the ex, they'd go to their geeky movies, and whatever. The few times I brought it up he said we had this conversation before. You had your chance to back out. She died after they had lunch the other day on the way to her car. He spent a bunch of time crying, but honestly I was relieved. He was working with her husband on funeral planning. I told him you don't think you're going, do you? My argument, summed up, she's dead, so she's not a factor anymore. He doesn't get to use his she's my friend excuse since she doesn't exist anymore. He had his cry for a couple days, he gets to be done with mourning her already. There's no need for him to go to her funeral, since I wouldn't want her at his. He was the angriest I've ever seen him when I told him that, replying that he'll be going no matter how I feel, and that he's willing to burn this to the fucking ground while holding up his wedding band. Besides you, she was the closest friend in my life. Him, her husband and my sisters are calling me an insensitive asshole over this, all saying that there was no romantic aspect to their relationship, and that I'm heartless. Her husband went so far as calling me a ghoul for how I've reacted. I never felt their relationship was appropriate, and I hid that for years because I wanted to be with my husband. Now that she's gone, I don't feel I should have to hide it anymore, and can speak freely. Ada for just wanting him to be done with her, and for him to not attend the funeral? First of all, this is my first post on here ever. I wanted an objective opinion and I have read a lot of these kinds of posts on Facebook. If I do anything wrong please tell me. I 70s F, am the grandmother to 5 wonderful grandkids, 3 women and 2 men. The last of my grandkids got married last October. My husband, 70s M, and I usually get them a small gift, usually the cheapest thing on the registry. Then the day before the wedding, we privately gift them a check for $40,000. We prefer that they use it for a house, but we don't force them to do so. We also ask them to keep it private, We have a big extended family, and we don't want them to expect it from us. They all honored this request. When it came to our youngest granddaughter, we bought her an air fryer, that was the cheapest thing on the registry, and sent it in advance. Then she called us furious. She went off on us for being cheap and how she knew we had money, but that we did not love her enough to show it by getting her something more expensive. We were horrified by her behavior. Then she went ahead and threatened to disinvite us if we didn't get her a better gift. We discussed it, bought her a china set, but we did not give her the money that was set aside for her. We decided that she did not deserve it. Fast forward to last week, she met up with her brother, they got to talking and she found out about the cash gift that he got. She asked her cousins and found out all of them got the same gift. She called us furious for discriminating against her. We told her that it was our money, and after how she behaved, we did not want to give it to her. She started crying, said that she was just extremely stressed, and that we shouldn't have taken it to heart. We told her that we stand by our decision. Now she is refusing to attend Christmas, and her mother, our deal, is calling us Oz. So what is? My ex-wife and I are the parents of a daughter who is 17 and a son who is 15. We share custody of our kids 50-50 and we have been divorced for 13 years now. Neither of us pays child support because we have equal time with the kids and we split the costs of everything: school, medical, dental, extracurriculars. I opened up bank accounts for my kids when each was born and I have saved from the get-go. But around 8 or so years ago I came into some money because I was injured at work and I put that money into their accounts. As well as this, a relative died 4 years ago and I was left a sum of money that also went into the accounts for my children. The money I have now saved for them will help them tremendously in their futures, whether they go to college or not. My ex-wife remarried several years ago. Her stepdaughter is 16, she's got a nephew of her husband's they are raising who is 14 and she has a 7 and 5-year-old with her husband. Ex-wife wanted to talk to me about college for our kids and she told me that she and her husband had told all their kids that community college would be the most affordable option for them and that they would get as much help as possible, but a more expensive school would be tough on them. I told her that our kids would have that option if they wanted it because I have saved a more than healthy amount for them. She asked me why I never told her sooner and I told her because I was taking care of our children and it wasn't something she needed to know. A few days after this talk she called me and alongside her husband said that they would like me to pay child support for our kids, so that they can save more money for their other children's futures. I told her I was not going to pay her child support just so she could support the other children in her home. Her husband told me I could always offer to split the money between all of the children. I told him I was not paying for his kids to go to college. I told them I only had a responsibility to my children. I told them if they wanted to save more money, I would happily take the kids more if they, my kids, want to spend more time at home with me. Ex-wife called me cruel and said keeping 50-50 and paying money so our kids' siblings can go to college should be a no-brainer for me. I told her the day I have an obligation to help her support her entire household is a day in another universe where we never broke up. But we did and she has to accept she is equally responsible for our kids as me. They both told me I was an ass and even though I feel like I'm crazy for asking, I must ask, Ada? EDA, the courts did not order CS because I only make a little more than my ex-wife and I was well below the threshold they use to determine CS in 50-50 custody cases. I have control of the money. My children are aware it is there and we have talked about it, but they are still undecided on their future plans. They do not have access to the money yet. My 23F husband, 27M, and I have been together for 5 years, married for 3. We're both athletic people, or at least I used to be, so we've been planning a holiday for the past year. Without going into major details, it's inexpensive, by my standards, holiday and it would have involved a lot of hiking. I was looking forward to it. I was in an accident recently and, once again without going into much detail as it's triggering, lost my leg. It's upsetting but I'm not in a place to openly speak about it outside of therapy. Obviously due to this recent restriction, I'm unable to do what we planned for our holiday. I hadn't thought about the holiday, it's non-refundable. I had expected my husband to not want to go, Currently his family haven't asked once. Now I am and my family claim it's hard to be around me because they don't know how to support me whatever. He said yesterday he invited his sister, 19, in my place. I was baffled because I expected him to support me. He said it's not for 2 months. I'm like, so? Cancel and something we can both do. He said he needs a break, that he's been supporting me, he deserves this and he was also looking forward to it. So I said you go, but I paid for my spot so no she can't use it. He asked if I'm being serious that it's spiteful, his sister hasn't done anything. I said she hasn't asked me once how I'm doing, she texted me last week for £150, why should she get a free holiday? Anyway, he's upset claiming he'll still go and pay for his sister which he won't, since A, it's expensive and B, last I checked fully booked. Ada? I'd ask family or friends, but I don't feel like texting them. This is a petty little thing but maybe you guys can help me know if I was in the wrong? For context, I, 25F, got married in November. My Mill doesn't really like me, even trying to steal the spotlight at my wedding, but is still overly traditional. At Thanksgiving, I was having a really bad hair day so I wore a black leather cap, a dressier newsboy style one, which my husband said looked great on me. The holiday was hostile, even more so than prior gatherings I'd been to, and hubby said Mill said it was because I wore a hat, but I know it was just an excuse. I told Mill I wouldn't come to Christmas with them, then blocked her number and Facebook. My husband is trying to keep us both happy since he doesn't like conflict. He wants me to come to one more celebration to see if maybe people are getting used to me. He's told Mill she needs to be nice and treat me as part of the family since I am, and that if I feel unwelcome at Christmas like I did at Thanksgiving, that we won't attend future events and she see him much anymore. I understand why he wants me to give her one final chance and haven't had any conflict with him. Marriage is about compromise and I get that he doesn't want to cut her off since she's his mother, but I just don't want to be involved with her unless I have to be. I wanted to see if Mill was listening to him so I asked my husband to request that I be allowed to wear the same hat to Christmas. Hubby said he thought I'd worn it since I had a bad hair day, but this time it's as a statement that they shouldn't treat me as an outsider, either because I wear hats all the time, right now it's just a sports visor, which I'd never wear to a holiday, so it's not like I'm doing that, or they just don't like me. If they won't let me wear a hat, what else are they going to restrict about me? Let me be me or I won't come. Period. My husband agreed and relayed this to Mill and she's been asking him why he married the devil. He's growing tense with me and I told him he'll probably have to pick a side sooner or later and that I never intended it that way. He spent last night at a friend's house because he needed to think. I feel bad because I care about him and no conflict stresses him out. I told him to text me when he was ready to talk. He hasn't yet. My friends think that my hat request was unnecessary, and maybe I strained my relationship with my husband. I think he just needed space to think because conflict stresses him out, so I gotta ask, Ada for saying I won't come if I don't wear a hat? Update, my husband just texted me saying he just got off the phone with his mother. He told her off for calling me the devil and said that if I can't wear a hat, he's not coming either, and that she really should get over her antiquated BS. She did not respond well. I don't think we're going to Christmas there now so maybe we'll have a friend Muzz? IDK. We'll think of something.